What a wonderful evening we have planned.
Yes, we do.
I see everybody starting to get into the chat. Thank you so much. Was it Josh last week that asked if this was my chest?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then we wondered about the fingernails.
Oh, that's right. The fingernails.
I can't unsee now. Yeah.
I know. I'm going to have to change that. I'm going to have to totally change that. Oh, well. Welcome, everybody, to the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, the live edition, Scarif Live here, Saturday night, as we continue our deep dive on one of the most intriguing Star Wars shows out there. What do you think, Miss Perrin Sucks?
Shill for Disney and a shill for Star Wars right now.
There you go.
So.
But yeah, what do you I know you posted something earlier in the week. You said that apologies, but you're really liking Andor.
I am.
Yeah.
And I was totally sarcastic because I really don't care what anybody thinks either way.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat tonight. We're going to have a great show. And as I posted earlier, we have world famous commentator and political activist and Force user, Mr. Stephen Kent. I got his book right here, How the Force Can Fix the World. And actually, I'm going to buy another one because there are people that I've been talking to about this book, and they are really intrigued and wanted to borrow my copy. And I'm like, hells to the no. I'm just going to get you your own copy. So if you haven't checked it out, it's a really awesome read, How the Force Can Fix the World. I got all these notes in there because I've been like reading chapter by chapter and jotting some things down, things that make me go, is
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Sorry about that. I might have to bleep that out, but I don't care. As promised, Perrin Mothma for president. We got author Stephen Kent. Stephen, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey, good to see y'all. I'm an activist now. I'd prefer thought leader, like
Thought leader, exactly.
I like that.
Young Nimic, a writer.
Yes. Let's see your manifesto. Oh, I got it right here.
I have written a manifesto.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us this weekend. Obviously, when we've been kind of touting the Andor bell for a really long time. When it was announced back in 2019, I think it was. But our love for Rogue One goes deep. And Andor as a character, when they announced the show that they were producing a spin-off, first of all, my jaw dropped. And second, I realized that this might be something special. And I think at least that prediction has come true in my mind. I know a lot of people are enjoying it. Some people are not enjoying it for whatever reason, but we're not here to convince everybody.
Some people,
yeah, those people, yeah. But excellent. So obviously this week we brought you on board, and for reasons that we shall soon find out. But how are you liking Andor as a show? Give me your 411 there.
I like it more and more every week. There are some Star Wars fans who show up for like the latest dogfight between the X-Wings and the TIE fighters, but I just about reached my peak, climaxed, if you will, in the ISB meeting.
Yes.
The meeting, the assembly of the ISB, to actually talk about matters of imperial security and raising taxes and all of this just insane stuff, surveillance, right?
Right.
This is what I have always been waiting for. And between, I mean, just these ISB like boardroom dramas and Mon Mothma smiling through her teeth at her enemies, I mean, this is everything I've ever wanted. This is perfect.
It definitely is. Shanti, what did you think of this episode? It's called The Announcement, and we got a little bit of that announcement at the tail end of last week's episode. But what did you think of this episode overall?
I'm like Steven. I absolutely am loving the show. I love this episode. Like I said, look, I don't like real life politics, but I love the politics of Star Wars. It's the reason why I do love the prequels so much. So I like getting this quote unquote behind the scenes look at what's going on.
Yeah.
With the ISB and all that. And again, I know that people are thinking of action in the sense of like physical action, but I like all the conversations that are going down and everything that's happening. Like that is what is really drawing me in. So just, this is just going to be an evening of agreement because I agree with everything that Steven is saying. I mean, the conversation between Mon Mothma and Luthen, I mean, her shock. I mean, I honestly, that could be me just shutting my brain off while I'm watching this, but I guess I was under the impression that she kind of knew what Luthen was up to. So seeing her shock about all of that, I was like, oh man, I was like, she didn't know anything.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of action, different kinds of action. And like right before sitting down with y'all, my daughter and my daughter's 11, we were watching Shark Tank. We really like watching Shark Tank together. There's so many layers to what's happening on screen. And we get such a kick out of when somebody like makes a face, right? That their pitch goes badly, or one of the sharks like kind of looks at them like, and like we love that. We're like, oh boy, something's about to go down. And like that came out when we were watching Andor again together and watching the dinner party where Mon Mothma is navigating this situation around Perrin, her husband, and just seeing the faces that people would make. We go, ooh, you see the way she looked at that guy? Like that's just as much fun as an explosion. And I don't get why people don't know that.
Yeah. Last week I said a phrase, less is more. And that's certainly the case with a lot of those expressions that the actors are giving us in Andor. I think they speak volumes. I don't want to go like beat per beat on this episode, but I do want to come up with some talk points. And then let's start at the beginning here. We start out this episode. Cyril is sulking in his bedroom again, waiting for the cereal to be poured or whatever dinner that they were having, Mom and him. I wanted to ask you guys, Mom obviously is so controlling, but he does kind of respond with some of his own quips. She says, that collar says a lot. And he's like, well, what is it saying to you, Mom? But I wanted to ask you guys, because we've seen this already from Cyril many times, his need to be noticed. He's got a tailored outfit. He's altered the collars. What do you guys think of why do you think he needs to be so different?
It's the Krennic thing, right? Yeah. We talked about this the last time that I was on, and director Krennic has the same kind of inferiority complex as a kid or a guy who came from nothing and nowhere. He overcompensates with that cape that he wears, and the Imperials make fun of him for it because all of the people who came up through the academy from rich families, they don't need a cape to feel like they are, regal. So like that little bit with the collar at the very beginning reminded me exactly of that. Like we're just looking at a guy who really, really wants to be somebody, make a difference. He doesn't want to have a cubicle job. Right. And it's actually kind of stunning to me that we get to the end of the episode and the only thing that happened to Cyril in the entire episode was he got the cubicle job.
Right. Yeah.
And then the episode was over.
It's like he's a still a boy trying to become a man, and he's like the Norman Bates right now with that mom. I'm just waiting
kill
for
her.
us to see his mom
Gonna
in a
kill that
corner
lady.
somewhere, her skeleton. And we were talking earlier, Ro, like he is just so beyond pathetic, and
Yeah.
it wasn't actually a very like how do you say it? The image of him just being one out of hundreds of these people in that cubicle. I was like, my God, are you so far down the totem pole now? And I was talking to Josh about this, and we were saying, oh my God, this guy is so gonna have a Michael Douglas in Falling Down moment. He's
Yeah.
just gonna snap one day, and
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it.
I was going to ask you guys, where do you see his character? Because it seems like he gets, he wants to, rise above it all.
Mhm.
I mean, he tells his the guy that he's interviewing how what his plan is. He's going to be redeemed one day. He's got these little delusions of grandeur in his own head about being the hero of his own story. And then that last shot, it's a high shot of that cubicle, and he's just like looking up, like, now what? I mean, he gets knocked down at every point in the story here. Where do you guys see his character ending up?
I guess my original theory was that he is kind of on a path towards, working with someone like Miro, at the ISB. Like he wants to be an Imperial officer, and he was a rent-a-cop before, trying to like cosplay as an Imperial officer. So I just kind of imagine that he is going to try to enter the main vein of like Imperial officer hierarchy. But we're also at episode 8, and there's not a lot of time for that really at this point, unless we're going to have multiple seasons. And it leaves me wondering if that was incorrect, and he's like going to do something wild in the next couple of episodes that results in, him being dead. I don't know. He's either about to like go crazy, or he's going to join the officers program and, hunt rebels.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there is a season 2, and
they've confirmed that.
Yeah, they start shooting in November.
All right, cool. Yeah, then maybe there's time then, because I think he's on the Imperial officer track.
Yeah, I don't see him dying, because if not, then what is the point of shedding any light on this character at all? So
and
he's going to snap.
Yeah, they do seem to be taking a lot of time just mulling him over. I mean, we see that shot of him sitting in his bedroom. This is not the first time we've seen that shot, and he's just sitting there looking out the window. It's kind of dreary, and we've seen that before. So yeah, I would think that there's a rhyme to the reason here, and looking forward to seeing where that ends up. All right, so I'm going to mention a character that I think is becoming a favorite of mine, and I wore my Imperial insignia button just for her. Dedra, she's becoming a favorite. Her keen eye, the cautious and thoughtful manner in which she examines the situation, breaking it down logically. She is a jewel in the Imperial Security Bureau. Long live the Empire. What do you guys think?
I love her. I wasn't sure if I was going to like her at first.
You called her Crazy Eyes.
I did go back and look when she first appears. She looks nuts.
That's sexist. How dare you?
Oh my God, traitor to my own sex. No, but I am liking her more and more, and I really loved actually the end of that when what's his name? All I think of is Qyburn from Game of Thrones. That's what I want to call him. But I loved when he's like, "Come walk with me," and
Partagaz,
and he says, "Watch yourself." And I really like that because it shows that he does like her, he does value her, and he's giving her a little nugget of advice. Be careful, because she's going toe to toe with essentially, who is that guy? I guess her supervisor, her direct supervisor. Oh my God, this is like so. It's like The Office in space. I just relate to so much what's going on, having worked in an office most of my life, and the office politics and the bureaucracy of everything. And I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of backstabbing.
Stephen mentioned having a moment during that ISB scene. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that was kind of, it was pretty heavy. You know, we've got Wolf Yularen back on screen, and if folks don't know who he is, please look him up. I didn't make the connection. Somebody on Twitter had said, "Oh, we finally got Yularen," and I did have to look him up. I didn't remember him in the Clone Wars, and obviously they are connecting that character with the character that was in the original, Star Wars, in when Vader and Grand Moff entered for the first time, which is really cool. But Stephen, let's talk about that scene. There's a lot here that they're discussing.
Yeah, a couple things. Wolf Yularen, is it confirmed that was Yularen? Because I didn't see his name in the subtitles.
Yeah, it's
No,
they do it later on towards the end, and you see Yularen.
Cool. No, yeah, because we've seen him in the original 1977. He's in the Clone Wars. He's the narrator of the Clone Wars as well. Wolf Yularen is the voice that goes, "Oh, on the last episode."
I love that so much.
It's just perfect, and you just sort of see how, I don't know, I guess like a person who served the Republic, it's seamless to them to now just serve the Empire. It's all the same thing. I will always think about the Wolf Yularen scene in Episode 4 when Vader and Tarkin are in the room, because there's an empty chair at that table. And I've always wondered, whose chair was that? I always look at that and I go, it was Krennic's chair. Supposed to be his chair. It was just a couple days ago that he died. But yeah, so that ISB meeting, I just really got hung up watching Major Partagaz as like a manager. And that's the thing that I want to watch again, is his managerial style and how he accepts challenge. He accepts challenge from another person in the room, being Daedra Miro, and he sort of lets her like make her point, pits it against another idea, and he lets the best idea rise to the top.
Sure.
Whereas the other Imperial who Daedra is up against, he has forgotten how to think. He thinks everything is rules, and Daedra and Partagaz know that there is actually more to managing Imperial security than just rules. Very, very cool. I want to watch that scene again because it's incredibly layered.
Yeah,
absolutely. I also mentioned last week that the writing in this show, there is no wasted word. Everything, you really have to pay attention to everything, because you said it, Stephen, it's very layered. This scene has a lot of little nuggets in there. Obviously, Yularen says that he consulted with Palpatine, which sends shivers up my spine as well. I love
hearing his name made me
really
really excited.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk to you guys about, there's some like real world little crossovers here. So the Empire, and I wanted to get your opinion on something. The Empire is really doubling down on this rebellion uprising. Luthen's crew is also forcing their hand, also on their part, and both forcing their hands so the Empire can do something. And it almost cries of, to me, it cries of conspiracy, internal conspiracy, like when folks claim that 9/11 was an inside job in order to facilitate our next move into the Middle East. I kind of saw like parallels, and obviously, you can ask 100 people what they think and you get 100 answers, but there is that sort of like, internal conspiratorial essence to this, because when Luthen talks to Mon Mothma and they're talking about that specifically, it's almost like I was getting similar vibes from Yularen and Luthen's speech about having each one kind of, they're almost like playing chicken with each other, but I'm not sure if that's a planned motif between the writers saying this is what's going to happen, or if they're individually thinking that we need to rise up to make the other one, it's like a chess move. They got to move, who's going to move next. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's a fair assessment. I don't like, I said, I think that's a fair assessment. I didn't really think of it that way. I'm really not one to inject, and in real world stuff into Star Wars. So I most of the time don't look for those kind of parallels, but that's why I like having these discussions, because then it makes me think deeper about it. And of course, unfortunately, I did not get a chance to rewatch the show before we did this, but I accept that take, and I can see that. I mean, that's the whole reason why he said, look, this is something that needed to be done. She obviously disagreed, but he's like, no, this is something that needed to be done. And we do, you're right. We need to force their hand and see what their next move is going to be. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I can see that.
Yeah, and that connects pretty nicely to Nemec's view, his correct view of how,
Right.
governments sort of subdue their people over time, slow and steady, numbing people to what's going on,
Right.
sort of constantly moving the goalposts about what is normal until you can't even remember what normal is anymore. And he has this, perspective, which there's truth to it, that you have to shock the
Mhm.
system
Right.
so that people don't get complacent. But, you're always going to have these more moderate figures like Mon Mothma who want to pump the brakes, play it very safe and careful. But Mon Mothma, I think we have reason to believe that the other guy's not alive down the road. At least he's not in the picture. I don't know who Luthen Rail is. We've never heard of
Right.
this guy before, so I don't think Luthen's going to make it out of this alive.
Yeah,
And Mon Mothma will, because Mon
Mhm.
Mothma plays a long game.
sure.
Yeah.
I actually think Luthen is a puppet, and I now I'm starting to think, especially after this week's show, I'm starting to think that Clea has a more defined position in this little organization. I think she's the one that might be pulling the strings. Um,
I think he's
Maybe.
connected to Saw somehow. That's what I'm still waiting for.
Maybe he's a mole altogether.
That could
Right.
be.
We've seen that like one of Luthen's associates is undercover in the ISB. He's like this white guy with a little red mustache with red hair. He's been seen in Luthen's company and at the ISB. He's like a background character. You only see him a couple of times, but like, I don't know. I wonder if there's going to be a really big plot twist, like a HBO or Showtime Homeland level plot twist where everything you think that you know is not true. We also have to get to the point where Mon Mothma actually exits the Senate and actually flees into exile to fully be with the rebellion. We're only a couple of years from Mon Mothma being wanted by the state. So I kind of wonder if everything that Luthen and Mon Mothma are doing are going to fall apart. Maybe Luthen isn't, maybe he's playing for the other side. Like maybe he's trying to draw out high level rebel sympathizers with the blessing of Palpatine. Who
mhm.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, you bring up an interesting point, because that scene in with Mon Mothma and Luthen. First of all, holy crap, the acting was phenomenal. Can you feel the agony of Mon Mothma when she says, "You realize what you've done"?
Mhm.
I mean, her voice is like trembling. She's like fearful for
The
what,
look on her
yeah,
face.
for what the future holds, especially because she knows that, at this point the Empire is about to do something pretty rash.
Mhm.
Um, but you talked about getting to a point where Mon Mothma is, say it like 10 times,
I know.
where
Mon Mothma.
she leaves the Senate, and I almost feel, that scene in the ISB headquarters, to me it sets the stage for how the Empire is establishing their overreach in their powers. I feel that it's almost like the first step in dissolving the Imperial Senate permanently, as Grand Moff Tarkin said in
Yeah.
episode 4. So I think we're not far off
Mhm.
from witnessing that act and seeing how the rest of the Imperial Senate and citizens around the galaxy react to that, and we might be seeing the tail, or I guess the scenes where we didn't see them from A New Hope, and I find that very exciting.
Me too. And then, yeah, and this is what I love. I love that we are connecting dots here, and kind of streamlining things now, but we're not using these characters that we know so well, and it gives us more of a chance to kind of play around. So again, anything that kind of helps to maybe explain the original trilogy a little bit more and connect it a little bit more, I'm all for it. And that's why I love this. And it's a shame that people are not liking it as much. I keep seeing articles saying that while this is the best Star Wars show that we've gotten so far, it doesn't seem to be viewed very much. And I'm wondering if it's maybe just too cerebral for some people, which is a
Well,
shame.
yeah,
And I hope that's not the case. And I really hate that some people want to reduce it to just
Spaceship battles and
spaceship battles,
lightsabers.
lightsabers, and
Yeah.
Jedi. But
there will always be this tension between the kinds of people who, when they go home at night, they want to crack open a glass of wine and watch Breaking Bad, and people who want to go home and have a beer and watch The Apprentice. You know,
what a wonderful analogy.
Well, I stole that from Joe Scarborough on MSNBC. Like in 2016, after the Trump election, you know, he was like, you know, we don't understand the country, you know, the way that maybe we used to. We were all busy watching Breaking Bad when 75% of the country was watching The Apprentice and falling in love with this guy.
Oh
And
my God.
it's a good reminder that like legacy TV is for a certain kind of person. There are like cinephiles and TV addicts, and there are movie reviewers and TV reviewers. And I'm not saying we're snobby, but we're snobbier than most people. and then there is the mass audience.
Sure.
And the mass audience just wants to relax, watch something familiar and entertaining. And if that is like Star Wars popcorn, you know, type movie, then that's what they want to watch. And
Sure.
the Mandalorian was kind of the perfect fusion of both of those worlds. Whereas this is purely for the film reviewer red wine snob.
No.
Yeah, no, I get, but you tweeted something earlier today, which I really, really liked, Stephen, about how, you know, this is really great that we are getting different types of Star Wars for different types of audiences. And and I compare it to a buffet, you know, you have all these different things. Some people might like salads, some people might like, you know, chicken or whatever, but you can pick out whatever you want. And I don't know if it's just because everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame, so they just got to watch everything, so they're the first one to stream stuff. But listen, you don't have to watch this. If you don't like it, then just stop watching it and let the rest of us who are enjoying it enjoy it, you know? And, you know, kind of the other way around as well.
Sure.
But you got to understand how that might hurt some people. Like Star Wars has never been in that territory before.
Yeah, and I understand.
It's never been the kind of IP, the kind of franchise where you take it or leave it, because it's always an event. There's new Star Wars and we're all going to watch it.
We're all going to go. Right. It's always been for everybody.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think a lot of people are just afraid of change.
That's an interesting point. That's a very interesting point. Stephen, earlier today, you had also made an assertion here. The single episode of Andor was more Star Wars politics minutia than we've gotten in live action in 20 years. Is such a perfect show. One of your followers, Sublight77, says, to me, it's a shame everyone wants Star Wars to go more real. I miss the childlike, wondrous, awe-inducing, imaginative soul. We have enough real and gritty all over TV.
Josh basically said last week too.
Yeah, and I've heard that comment from some of the other people. But you know, that also begs the question, like, to you, and it's very personal. We've had 40 plus years of Star Wars, but what does Star Wars mean to you? What does a Star Wars have to have in order for it to be a Star Wars? And I think, as I mentioned, with a franchise with so many things out there, books, novels, comics, radio dramas, animation for all ages, there is really a Star War for every segment of the population. And when we had Star Wars, it was only 3 movies. I think it was a little bit more universal because George obviously wanted to get more bang for his buck. and have as many people see this, this galaxy that he created. But I think now, we are getting so much variety in our Star Wars that because it's been so old, it's such an old franchise, that we are getting little tidbits of stories from all across the board. Somebody that enjoys Andor is probably not going to go and enjoy a Star Wars cartoon. The audiences I think are different, and that's okay. But as the bottom of my name says, I'm a Disney shill and I love it all. No, I really don't love it all.
Yeah, I just want more and more and more. I guess I don't really understand comments like that from the guy who responded to me, because you're on Disney Plus. All you have to do is hit the back button and there's Lego Star Wars if you want childlike wonder. I mean, and I guess I don't get it, because in a week we're about to have the Jedi Tales, Dooku and Ahsoka animated miniseries. There is plenty of stuff for childlike wonder. I feel like when people talk like that, they want to be children again, and they're just mad that they're not. And I don't know. I get frustrated sometimes, because I think one of the big driving forces of Star Wars is like the passing of the torch from masters to apprentices to their apprentices. There's this constant cycle of change, fathers and sons and mothers and daughters. Like, that's what Star Wars is about. We're at 4 generations now of Star Wars stories and Star Wars fans. And so you do now have Star Wars fans. I mean, you always had old Star Wars fans, but you have Star Wars fans now that have grandchildren. And so, like, there has to be stuff for those people who do not have kids in their home and would like to sit down and enjoy adult Star Wars. And that's okay. It's very strange to me how people kind of like go like, well, this has to be this thing. Lego Star Wars is on the other page. Go ahead and watch it.
Yeah.
Not only that, but how long, and we discussed this last week, Ro, how long before that gets old and stale, and then you're complaining you never do anything different, then we do something different, and then it's too different. Well, again, as always, I don't know what the hell you want. Honestly,
it seems like the fans are taking the Sith path and killing their masters here. But
not only that, you're comparing a show where you can take your time over the course of 2 seasons, 24 episodes, to a movie that's got to take everything and condense it to 2 hours.
And I think this is a very important moment for all of us who want to maintain our sanity and our mental health, to pause and remember that every single time we go, people online, we're talking about different people. Like, you engaged with different people today than I did. I engaged with different people, and Ro has talked to different people online. So it's like, who the hell are we talking about?
Right.
If what we are concluding is there are human beings out in the world that don't like to watch the same things, we always knew that. It's just that now we hear from them all the time, and it just is, it's disorienting. We just have to like stop thinking that way. And it was always this way. There were people who didn't like Return of the Jedi.
But back then we didn't have people with their own shows with microphones in their faces talking about it ad nauseum. Yeah. But yeah,
I'm just tired of the right, you're wrong, hoopla. Like, enough with that. It's, at the end of the day, this is a TV show. This is a movie. It's art. It's no different than looking at a painting. We've said this before, and everyone's going to have a different opinion. What it means to you, what it feels to you, that's up to the individual person. So,
but I think even you saying like right there that it's like a painting is that, at the paint gallery all day, there are going to be people who go in and go, I don't see it. What's the big deal?
It's just a black line.
So we shouldn't be surprised when people are not kumbaya.
And believe me, I'm definitely not surprised. That's why I said I just don't care. That's why I tweeted. I apologize that I love Andor, and I just don't care. I just don't care.
Two Scarif Lives ago, I think I was actually, it wasn't on the show. It was online with those people. Uh, I was having a very spirited discussion on the fact that Andor really shows us that that Star Wars can change and evolve. And I think, Shanti, you mentioned the fact that if it continues to be the same formula over and over and over again, will Star Wars survive that for the future? And I think Andor really shows us that something different can be done. It may not be your cup of tea, but this is very deliberate storytelling.
I
It's
think Andor needs to take a child under his wing and protect them from harm.
oh God, please.
That would be fresh.
No more children.
You don't want another Grogu?
Oh, God, man. Yeah. I mean, with the big controversy is Andor better than The Mandalorian? And people are fighting about that. But just like your own Star Wars.
Why even? You know
and
what?
just leave it-
I know I said last week that I'm starting to like this more than The Mandalorian, but you know what? I'm going to completely backtrack on that because you know what? They're two different shows. Don't stop with, is it better than, who cares? It's two different shows. Just stop with those kinds of comparisons. I just feel like you can't compare the two.
I feel attacked, so I need
You're
my
telling
my
two
safe-
different stories altogether.
I need my safe Grogu.
Oh my Lord.
I'm sorry.
feel-
They don't
I
know
now
if we're
feel
talking
safe.
about Grogu.
He is a
They don't
cutie.
know. Yeah.
I'm going back to the original trilogy. Okay.
Well, for me, I'm obviously from the get-go, I told you guys earlier that I'm I predicted that I was gonna.
Oh, did he freeze up again? Bro?
What's that?
I think he froze.
Oh no.
Oh no. I love when I get control. Oh no.
Oh, you have to host now.
Now let's just stare at Ro for a while. He must be having a dinner party and all the Wi-Fi is getting used up. You froze real
Yeah.
bad.
I saw. Good thing we'll fix it in post.
Oh no.
But absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the scale of this episode. We're getting a lot of scale in all the episodes. There are some really amazing shots. We're back on Coruscant. There is some really great wide shots. One of the things that I had complaints about with Kenobi was that we didn't get enough of this type of thing, like the wide shots where people are just walking. There's this shot with Clea that she's walking on down that corridor and she's going to meet Vel. There's some really beautiful shots that just sit there for just half a second, longer than usual, and they go a long way to continue this world building narrative that here we are on this planet, check this out. These shots are gorgeous, they're beautiful. Oh, and when Mon Mothma leaves what's his name, Luthen, you got that shot of the space Cadillac flying up, and then the next shot is just basically the cityscape going past. That's such a wonderful, beautiful shot.
She really does have a sweet ride. Space Cadillac. I like that.
I tweeted earlier that George Lucas would have loved that space Cadillac.
I think so.
Because
It's
of
very
his love for-
aesthetically pleasing, this show.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. What do you think of the visuals, Stephen?
I mean, you said it, vast. I also am always just finding myself like they're really good in this show at creating sort of really big spaces with focal points. I think Mon Mothma's like speeder, her little speed cruiser that she keeps landing at Luthen's place at the antique store is like a really good example of that, where you have this big gray cityscape and then you've just got this blue, shiny speeder right in the middle. There's just so many of those kinds of moments, from like when the TIE fighter pilot was getting down into the TIE fighter as the sky is lit up with all those stars in the last episode. It is a very visually striking show. You get lost in it. And again, like with the bigness of the Star Wars galaxy in this story, you're also sort of getting its vastness visually. That's sort of a film review point, but it's shot beautifully. Whereas there is something about the Obi-Wan series that feels like I'm watching the prequels, and I think they know that. They know that it feels like a continuity from that particular story.
Right.
Whereas this is literally like a first of its kind, building off of Rogue One. What if we had Homeland from Showtime, but Star Wars? And it's going to feel very different.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's talk a little bit about Fiona Shaw. Cassian goes back for mom and says, we got to take off. Fiona Shaw is killing it. I see such emotion in her performance. And not just her, obviously. We talked about Stellan Skarsgård, obviously. But everybody's got such a pedigree in this show. And I hope come Emmy time that this show gets a lot of nods, because the acting is superb, not just for a Star Wars show, for any type of television show on the small screen here.
I actually teared up during that scene.
Yeah,
I did, especially when she was telling him, like, that's love. And I don't know, there's just I don't know. I definitely teared up, although not appreciating she treated poor B, that poor droid.
Yeah, that the way that she described love, I don't have the quote in front of me, but like as just this confusing, irrational thing. I loved it. I mean, this is some of the most emotionally complex Star Wars out there. I really connected with that moment where she told him, that like he has to go, but she has to stay. And the way that she said it with clarity. Again, I was just kind of like looking at my daughter, who's kind of like processing this kind of dense scene. She's kind of like nodding, got her like lip out while she's like watching this. Like, sometimes your parents are going to do things you don't understand. And they love you to death. But their first priority is that you live. After like you live as a top priority, the rest might not make sense to you. And it's sad, but it was awesome to watch.
Yeah, you said it, Stephen. The most complex writing in a Star Wars, I think, like I said, I keep bringing this up. There doesn't seem to be a wasted word. These script writers have mastered the art of this type of communication. I find it intriguing. I find it enthralling. Hang on to every word when the show comes up. And I just love it. So, Cassian obviously is leaving his old house, his old home. I love that, the little detail when he comes in, he goes, "Since when do we lock the doors?" Love those little details.
Yeah, it used to be such a safe community.
I know.
Yeah. But he's got some old debts that he's paying, and he pays another visit to what's her name again? Bix. Yeah. And leaves a satchel of money. That's a funny word, satchel.
The things you focus on.
Yeah, she shut him down. I thought they were gonna like have like a warm moment, but no, he really did kind of screw his community. Yeah.
No, he did.
Yeah. But he did fight back. He says, "Your boyfriend screwed things up for me, and I'm the enemy."
I did like that line. Damn it, Tim.
Yeah.
Stupid Tim.
But yeah, do you guys think that we're going to see Bix again?
I don't
know. I mean, I think it would be more appropriate for like chapters in a character's life to close, and that chapter is closed. And
I can see that.
How to close the book. Our boy's about to go to jail. He's about to go to prison.
Yep.
So he's gonna make some new friends.
Yep.
Right.
I think that's over and done with.
Maybe he'll meet Saw Gerrera.
I was
Yeah.
going to ask you.
Yes.
I had posted something earlier regarding that. Do you? I almost felt like that was deliberate, like it was a setup that he set that up in order for him to get into jail to either meet somebody.
No.
Said,
No,
Yeah, I agree too. I think he
No.
is literally being sentenced to prison.
no, this was a police brutality commentary scene.
Yes.
Just a guy going out to the grocery store to get something for his squeeze, and he looked at a cop the wrong way
Yeah.
and got choked out. So no, I think
I made a joke about that in private, and I don't know if it'd be appropriate for you.
well, I
Jeez.
mean, I'm just from a commentary and like political analysis standpoint, I'm surprised they didn't have Cassian Andor say, "I can't breathe."
I was thinking about that too. That would be
because it would have. It just if if you were writing like a show with messaging, like it would have been that. But I mean, it's a great scene, and this happens, and there are going to be, and there already have been some people who are like, oh, like this is like too much of a commentary. It's like, are you kidding me? Like this happens in police states in every part of the world. This is just the way things go in totalitarian regimes where you don't have freedom. You look at a cop the wrong way and you get busted up. And it happens here too in the so-called free world. So anyways, yeah, I'm just super into that scene. And it's sad. He got 6 years.
Yeah.
6 years. And it used to be a couple of months.
right. So
But they increased prison sentences at the beginning of the episode.
oh
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Remember, like
Yeah.
they are ratcheting up the state of mass incarceration in the galaxy as a result of rebel activity, which Andor participated in.
Right.
And Luthen knew this would happen, that ratcheting up the tension and forcing the Empire to do worse things would fuel more rebellion.
Right.
And people will suffer, but he thinks that's okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I hope everyone's happy now. There were stormtroopers.
Yeah, sure.
We
And my
saw
favorite,
them. We saw 6.
some of my favorite shore troopers. Yeah, absolutely.
And there was more creatures.
and a little well, not an Imperial droid like K2SO.
I gasped. I knew it wasn't what
Right.
we knew from Rogue, but I was like, yay.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that actually ends up happening. Please bring it.
I
would really
totally
love
loved Space Acapulco.
That's exactly what I wanted.
Loved
It's
it.
a space
Loved it.
Miami.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got some Viper droids flying overhead, kind of patrolling
And
the
I
area.
liked the music in that scene actually, and
The music is killing it. I
and
love
I
it.
really liked it because you know what? A lot of the episodes, certain shots, certain scenes, if anyone's played, which I was just introduced to this year, the PC game, Star Wars: The Old Republic, it is giving me major vibes from that game, especially during that scene with the music and all that. So I'm wondering if they drew any inspiration from that game at all, because it just makes me want to go back and play it.
Yeah. Nicholas Bertel. He's doing a good job. There is obviously one of the things that makes a Star Wars based on those people is the the grand scope of John Williams, those familiar themes that we're all that we all love, obviously.
Yep.
But I think this really fits the storytelling.
I agree.
You were going to say something, Mr. Perrin Mothma for president, about the music?
No, just the making of a radical, right? This is no different than episode 4, and just the slow little baby steps towards what makes someone be a rebel and walk away from their normal life of disenchantment and going along to get along. It's great stuff. I do think what you were mentioning music, that's important. When I've been asked this before, like, what are the ingredients of a Star Wars? Like, what is it that makes it feel like Star Wars? And it's like, I don't know, water to fish. How do you describe that? How do you even describe what it feels like? It's like a warmth in your heart when you're watching it and you're like, this feels right. And yeah, Andor doesn't feel right because it's not trying to.
Mhm.
And I think part of that is music. It might be scores, like really big themes, hopeful music at times. I don't know. Like there's just something about the show that is bleak, but it's a bleak time in galactic history.
Right.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think it matches. And again, we are being given something like Steven's been saying, like Homeland. It's espionage. It's very spy-like. So why would I want music that is
Yeah.
loud and proud and in your
Dun,
face?
dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun.
no, it's supposed to be, kind of quiet and almost like in the background because I mean Andor continues to constantly be on the run and trying to blend in, and so I feel like the music is matching that tone. It's subtle.
Mhm. And this show has a lot of firsts. So,
Mhm.
obviously we talked about early on in the episode, we had a character swear.
Mhm.
And we had in the episode The Eye, we had an Imperial officer take a leak behind a rock.
And
That
have a
was
heart
really
attack.
fun.
We had a character have a heart attack. That was interesting.
Raw and gritty.
Well, I have a question. Oh my God, Ro froze again. But you know what, Stephen? I'm going to take this opportunity to ask you
Yeah,
a question because you
do it.
said you watched this with your 11-year-old daughter. And this was a conversation that actually occurred today or yesterday with one of my friends. I don't even know anymore. Days are blending. Did you have a problem when they did shoot back over to Andor, as Ro put it, the Acapulco of Star Wars? Did you have a
Yeah,
problem
with
with
his
the nude woman in his bed, watching
yeah,
that with your 11-year-old daughter,
his
knowing
overnight
this is more
overnight
mature?
stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it made my skin crawl a little bit,
Mhm.
but for like my child in particular, like
Mm,
I understand that she understands what's going on here at this
mhm.
point. Like when you have parents, right? Like adult man, adult woman in bed, like that's what they
Right.
do. But the obvious question for any child watching is, that's not his wife. who who is that lady? and you know, so those are just things that you have to grow up into, and you will grow up into. That being said, if my daughter was 8, maybe just like a couple years ago, I would have been a little bit more like, ugh.
Right, right. But it also
With
sounds like you have a very mature child, and that does make a
only
difference.
child, that does happen, yeah.
Yeah.
I wa I was very confident that when they showed the girl in bed and then we
Mhm.
heard the shower running, that we were gonna see Cassian's butt.
This is an NYPD Blue.
And
Siblings.
Maggie Lovett and Andor Twitter would have exploded with joy.
Well, that's another first. We first see a space Star Wars shower in this
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about firsts. Awesome. So, wrapping up, I wanted to ask you guys what your favorite scene or aspect of this episode was that really, got you pumped. I'll start because there's a lot of stuff in here, but one of the things that we didn't talk about, there's this line that Mon Mothma says, I think during the dinner party, when she talks about something that she learned from Palpatine. I show you the stone in my hand and you miss the knife at your throat.
Oh, yes.
Talk about deliberate lines. I mean,
Mhm.
that says it all, and I love that. I got the chills when she said that. It just shows you the caliber of writing for
Mhm.
me. That was like, damn, that was pretty impactful, and it says a
Mhm.
lot. It says a lot going
Mhm.
forward. We'll see what else she has learned from Palpatine, and I think that goes along the way that she leads. She takes, you said it earlier, she smiles at her enemies, but at the same time you're taking in that information to see what can be learned.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting stuff.
My hype moment for this episode was also Mon Mothma's dinner. The conversation that she had with her childhood friend, the banker, the coded nature of the conversation. It just got me so excited about what's about to come next, and how this will all eventually fall apart for Mon Mothma at some point at great risk to her life. I got really into that scene. I think after this conversation, I'm going to go downstairs and rewatch the episode because I want to see that again. She also mentioned, and I think the only thing that I rewound to while I was watching, because I wanted to see it one more time, was she mentioned that in the Senate, I don't remember the quote, but she plays like nice with the former separatists.
Oh yeah.
And she said, like, I pretend to accommodate, separatists in the Senate. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting. I really want to understand what she meant by that. And I'm guessing that, like, in the post Clone War empire, like, you have the reentry of former separatist worlds under the Imperial banner, and you're going to have obvious tension between people that fought on the side of the separatists or the Republic, but now they're all in the Empire together. And I guess there's a lot of tension with her playing nice with separatists. I don't know, but she also said she's on like a separatist committee. And
selling cookies.
Say what?
Selling cookies.
Yeah. Selling cookies on the separatist committee. They're doing a
give me a tag along.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly is an amazing actress in this role. Just and her outfits are just grand as well. But yeah, she's killing it. I mean, I hang on her every word when she pops up. There's just something that you gotta listen to, and I watch it the first time just regular. The second time I watch it with captions because I don't want to miss everything, and you have to, because sometimes it'll go right over your head.
Yeah.
Shanti, what about you? Your hype moment?
The dinner, the dinner party is there's just so much going on. I loved the conversation between her and Tay, and having to put this face on and acting even to the point where, of course, she's got to make nice with this dickhead behind me, and no, let's go entertain our guests. And I just love all of that two-face kind of acting that they're doing. And same thing, like back at the shop, at Luthen's shop, I just love how he switches it on and off. And again, that was another great moment for me too, because like I said earlier, I was definitely under the impression that she knew exactly what Luthen was doing, that they were in on this together.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really great shock moment for me. I mean, I literally was like, oh my God. I was like, she didn't even know. I literally gasped. So those were definitely my two moments.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Wonderful. We are definitely enjoying this series, and can't wait to see more of the political intrigue in the Star Wars world. This is good stuff.
Steven's in his element, man.
Yeah.
He's just in it.
Now's the time, Steven. Let's restart up that podcast.
Oh yeah. No.
Don't tease me.
I was gonna say.
Don't taunt me. Excellent, guys. Steven, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Scarif Live. Our continued deep dives into the Andor show. Really loving it. Why don't you tell folks where people can find you and say hello there?
Yeah, you can find me on Substack at thisistheway.substack.com, and you can pick up my book, How the Force Can Fix the World, anywhere books are sold, including Amazon. And do remember, Perrin Mothma 2024.
Awesome. Make sure to get your votes in. As they say in Chicago, vote early and vote often. And we lost him. What about you, Shanti? Where can people reach you?
You can reach me on Twitter and Instagram at SelenaKyle29. And if you want to take a look at my other page, there's also Scarif After Dark, which is also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And it is just at Scarif After Dark. And I hope everyone heads right over there after this because we have some really great things planned. We have a game show planned. Everything's been really under wraps, and I can't wait because we got Tina on, and we're gonna have
Oh my
Salacious
God.
Rum,
Oh my God.
and that's gonna be like quite the combination because just Tina alone, I worry we're gonna get kicked off of YouTube, but I absolutely love her. So we're really excited. And of course, I'll be doing a costume change, and Josh and I will be wearing Halloween costumes.
Nice. Can't wait. Yeah, head on over there, everybody. I want to thank our guest again, Stephen Kent. We've got another guest coming on next week, which we will surprise you later during the week. But catch Andor. Was it Thursday nights, right? Wednesday nights, Thursday nights. I don't know. Just catch it. It's a good show. But thank you very much for joining us, everybody in the chat. Hope you guys had fun. Love the comments. Like I always say, it's such a very interesting other show that happens in the chat. And I'm sure tonight was lively as well. This is Ro. That is Perrin's Perrin fan club president over there, Shanti. No.
Hell no. But thanks to Josh for these incredible memes. He's keeping us all entertained on Twitter.
Very much. He needs a new hobby.
Yeah.
But until then, this is Ro. That's Shanti. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Talk to you guys later. That's the Scuttlebutt.